You are just one conversation away from being free. You are just one conversation away from having that peace in your life if you'll just take the 2-3 minutes to have that tough conversation. Maybe it's with your spouse. Maybe it's with a father or a mother where you got in a fight or an argument and you know you need to call and you need to make it right, or you need to tell them about something that isn't right in their situation, and you see it and you want to help them, but you don't want to go through that pain. You don't want to go through that struggle. But if you'll just dial the number and call and have the conversation, 2 minutes later you can be completely free. Maybe you've been in a relationship for years that you know is not right. You know you need to get out of it, but you're scared to have the tough conversation so that you can leave and live the life, because you don't want to go through the pain. You don't want to go through the anxiety. You don't want to go through the tears. But I'm telling you, the short-term pain for long-term peace is worth it. It's worth it, my friend. Just make the call, rip off the Band-Aid, get it done, get it over with. I remember I was at my IT job when I first got started, getting paid $13.50 an hour at this job. And I remember my boss said I wanted to have the raise. And he said it would happen, next week once I had gotten the certification or something like that. And I remember I was working, and I remember my friend said, "Did you talk to him yet? Did you talk to him yet?" I was like, no, I didn't do it yet. I'm kind of scared. Did you talk to him yet? And then finally I had the guts to go, knock on the door of his office and say, "Hey man, can we talk about the raise?" And you know what? He's like, yeah, Chris, we'll talk about it. And he brushed me off, and I was like, oh, great. Okay, I tried to talk to him, and then it still didn't work out. And then I remember I had to be persistent. Okay, and I just listened to this message by George Pearsons about being persistent against the resistance. And so now not only did I have to have this tough conversation, I had to now call him again or approach him, knock on the door. And let me just say, I finally did it, and I got my raise. All right, I got the raise, and I pushed through and got it done. There's been other times where, I needed to call a family member, I needed to talk to someone, and it wasn't going to be a comfortable situation. But guess what? After that 5 minutes was over, there was healing, there was peace. I realized and got to hear their side of the situation, and they got to hear mine, and we realized we're actually more on the same page. We actually agreed and we worked it out. There's been other times where I had to have a tough conversation with someone, whether that was in the music industry, and you know what? It sucked. It did suck. It hurt. There were not some nice words exchanged, all right? But you know what? It worked out, and it got done, and they got to move on with their life, and I got to move on with my life. And I'll tell you, being in the music industry, sometimes things get heated. Being a business owner, me having to sometimes fire people and have those tough conversations. And one thing I learned from a guy, he said, hire slow, fire fast. And I wish I took that advice more to heart, because sometimes I would have to fire guys. And it sucked. And I remember even being on the plane, and I was with my wife, and I was like, oh, this and this happened. She's like, oh, that shouldn't happen, and we need to just deal with that right away. And so I made the conversation, even on the plane, and there's people listening, and I'm like, nah, dude, this is done. You're done. And I had to fire someone, and it sucked. All right, it never felt good. But then when I hung up the phone, it was fine. And you know what? Sometimes relationships, after you have that conversation, there's some edginess. It's hard. It hurts for a while, right? But I can't tell you actually where later on there was healing later on. Sometimes people need some time to blow off some steam and get over it. But then you know what? Majority of times in my situation, there's been healing, and now we can still have conversations and everything's cool. And they're actually like, hey, thanks, Chris. I needed that actually to happen. It caused me to grow and to move forward. And so I want to ask you, what Band-Aid do you need to rip off and have that conversation so you can move forward with your life? You're staying stagnant, you're putting it off and not having that conversation because you're scared. You're scared to go through that pain and have that conversation. But you know what? If you go through that short-term pain, you can have lifetime peace, okay? Long-term gain, and just enjoy your life. You've been in this situation long enough, my friend. Pick up the phone, make the call. Don't just send the email or the text unless you can actually get it done that way. But I always say, pick up the phone, just make the phone call, say, look, this has been on my heart for a while. I just needed to tell you this is how I feel, and we've got to do something about this. Something's got to change. Or maybe you need to, quit your job. You've been putting off quitting your job, letting your boss know. All right, that was me for a long time. All right, I actually quit my job a little too soon. But there's been a lot of different times where I had to make these tough conversations, but I'm so glad I did, and I want you to know that you can do it too. So leave a comment below and let me know that you're gonna have that tough conversation either today or this week. Put it on your calendar. I don't care if you gotta sweat through it. I don't care if you gotta go through a little temporary anxiety frog in your throat until it's off your life forever. You can do this because you're a fighter. If you don't got a copy of my book, Fighter, 5 Keys to Conquering Fear and Reaching Your Dreams, because this is a fear you need to conquer, click the link below this video and get a free copy of that book.